Hello everyone, welcome to the Six Path Weeb YouTube channel. Today's fanfiction topic explores an intriguing alternate storyline. What if Naruto and Sasuke fall for the same girl, and she chooses Naruto? Please note, the content on this channel is created purely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not own any of the anime footage featured in my videos. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's dive into the story. In the Hidden Leaf Village, nestled among the whispering trees and winding paths, two boys grew up under the same sky, Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha. Though their paths were different, fate had woven their stories together from the very beginning. Naruto, with his bright blue eyes and untamed blonde hair, was known for his boundless energy and mischievous grin. He was often seen chasing after dreams bigger than himself, determined to become Hokage and earn the village's respect. Despite the loneliness that shadowed his early years, Naruto's heart remained open, always seeking connection and friendship. Sasuke, on the other hand, bore the weight of a prestigious clan and a tragic past. His dark eyes held a depth beyond his years, and his quiet demeanor masked a burning desire for strength and recognition. While others admired his skills from afar, Sasuke kept his distance, focused solely on his personal goals. Their rivalry was legendary, but beneath the surface, a bond was forming, one forged through shared experiences, challenges, and the unspoken understanding of two souls striving to find their place in the world. Enter Aiko, a new student at the Ninja Academy. With her gentle smile and compassionate nature, she quickly became a favorite among her peers. Aiko had a unique ability to see the good in everyone, and her presence brought a sense of calm to those around her. Naruto was immediately drawn to her warmth. He admired how she treated everyone with kindness, never judging or excluding anyone. For Naruto, who had often felt like an outsider, Aiko's acceptance meant the world. Sasuke noticed her too. Unlike the others who fawned over him, Aiko treated Sasuke like any other classmate. She challenged him during training, offered genuine praise, and never hesitated to speak her mind. This intrigued Sasuke, who was used to admiration but not authenticity. As time passed, both boys found themselves vying for Aiko's attention, each in their own way. Naruto would go out of his way to make her laugh, sharing his dreams and aspirations openly. Sasuke, though more reserved, showed his interest through subtle gestures, offering help during missions or sharing rare moments of vulnerability. Aiko, perceptive and thoughtful, sensed the growing tension between her two friends. She valued both deeply but knew that her heart leaned towards one. After much reflection, she chose to speak with them. Gathering Naruto and Sasuke beneath the cherry blossom trees, Aiko addressed them with sincerity. "You both are important to me," she began, "but I need to be honest about my feelings." Naruto's heart pounded, hope and fear intertwining. Sasuke remained stoic, though his eyes betrayed a flicker of anticipation. "I admire your determination, Naruto," Aiko continued, "and your unwavering spirit. You've taught me the value of perseverance and kindness. Sasuke, your strength and dedication have shown me the importance of discipline and focus." She paused, taking a deep breath. "But the person who makes my heart feel light, who brings joy to my days, is Naruto." Naruto's eyes widened, a mix of surprise and elation washing over him. Sasuke looked away, the sting of rejection tempered by his respect for Aiko's honesty. "I hope we can all remain friends," Aiko added, her voice gentle. Sasuke nodded slowly. "I understand," he said quietly. "Thank you for being truthful." In the days that followed, the trio navigated the new dynamics of their relationship. While there were moments of awkwardness, their bond endured. Naruto and Aiko grew closer, supporting each other's dreams and facing challenges side by side. Sasuke, though initially distant, found solace in their friendship, channeling his emotions into becoming a better ninja in person. Their story became one of growth, understanding, and the complexities of young love. In the Hidden Leaf Village, under the ever-watchful sky, Naruto, Sasuke, and Aiko continued their journeys, intertwined by fate, strengthened by choice, and guided by the bonds they cherished. As Naruto placed his hand against the glowing surface of the ancient tree, warmth surged through his arm, not painful but heavy with something unexplainable. The veins of light pulsed brighter, and before the group's wide eyes, flickering images emerged in the air like ghosts caught in sunlight. The first vision shimmered into focus. A younger Naruto sat on a lonely swing outside the academy, legs dangling as villagers passed without glancing his way. Aiko gasped, not out of surprise, but empathy. She had seen his cheer, his endless optimism, never had she imagined the weight behind it. Naruto lowered his hand, his lips slightly parted. "I remember that day," he muttered, voice softer than usual. I promised myself I'd never let anyone else feel like I did. Then came another scene, this one of Sasuke, older than the last memory, standing in the shadows as his family estate lay silent. Not a sound stirred. Only the echo of absence. He turned toward the tree, visibly unsettled. "Turn it off," he said abruptly. But the tree refused. A new sequence emerged, this time unfamiliar. Aiko stood alone in a different part of the forest. Her expression was unreadable, but her posture suggested she was waiting, not for help, but for understanding. Around her, invisible threads pulsed from the ground, laced with chakra not her own. The image didn't show the past or present. It showed the future. Sasuke stepped forward, confused. "That's not real. She's never been there." "I've never been," Aiko admitted, "but I recognize that place." Her voice trembled, but curiosity pulled her toward the vision. "That's near the northern edge of the training fields. I had a dream about it once." Naruto clenched his fists. "This tree showing us stuff that hasn't happened yet?" The light within the bark shifted again. This time, it separated into two scenes, side by side. One displayed Naruto and Aiko standing in the rain, their hands barely touching, tears mixed with raindrops. The other revealed Sasuke alone, watching the village from a rooftop, cloaked in shadows. The visions vanished. "What was that?" Naruto asked, voice tight. Aiko frowned. "Possibilities. Not destiny." Sasuke narrowed his gaze. "Or warnings." That night, long after returning to the village, the three couldn't sleep. The tree had stirred something in each of them, questions about themselves, their choices, and the roads they might walk. The next morning, Aiko sought out the Hokage. "Lady Tsunade," she began respectfully, "has anyone ever studied the memory tree? Does it show the future?" Tsunade looked at her with a mix of caution and interest. "Not exactly. It reacts to chakra impressions, strong emotions, deeply rooted desires, even things buried in your subconscious. Sometimes, that reflects what may come if you keep walking your current path. But nothing is fixed." Armed with this knowledge, Aiko returned to the training grounds with Naruto and Sasuke. She stood between them, facing the horizon. "I don't want either of you to be hurt by what the tree showed us. We choose who we become. I'm not a prize. You're not rivals in a game." Naruto gave a crooked grin. "I don't care what the tree thinks. I care about you." Sasuke didn't reply at first. When he did, his voice was firm. "We saw what happens if we let the past rule us. I won't let that happen. I'll become someone worthy of choosing, whether or not I'm the one you choose." The air around them shifted, as if the memory tree's influence had finally lifted. No visions, no echoes, just three young shinobi staring into a future they would shape on their own terms. And so, their journey continued, no longer just a tale of rivalry or affection, but one of discovery, challenge, and growth. The forest no longer held fear for them. The tree had not cursed them, it had awakened them. And somewhere within its glowing heart, the memory tree pulsed once more, not with warning, but with hope. The memory tree's influence. In the days following their encounter with the memory tree, Naruto, Sasuke, and Aiko found themselves drawn back to its presence. The tree had shown them glimpses of their pasts and possible futures, leaving them with questions and a sense of unease. They decided to return, hoping to understand more about its powers. As they approached the tree, its luminescent bark shimmered softly, as if acknowledging their presence. Aiko stepped forward, placing her hand gently on the trunk. Instantly, the tree responded, projecting a new vision into the air. This time, the vision was of a peaceful village, untouched by war. Children played freely, and the air was filled with laughter. Among them were Naruto and Sasuke, older and wiser, standing side by side as protectors of the village. Aiko stood between them, her presence radiating warmth and harmony. The vision faded, leaving the trio in contemplative silence. "What does it mean?" Naruto asked, breaking the silence. "I think it's showing us what could be," Aiko replied. "A future where we all find peace and understanding." Sasuke nodded slowly. "But it's up to us to make that future a reality." A new challenge. Their reflections were interrupted by a sudden disturbance. The ground trembled slightly, and the air grew thick with tension. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in darkness, eyes glowing with malice. "I see you've discovered the memory tree," the figure sneered. "Its powers are wasted on you." The trio stood their ground, ready to defend themselves and the tree. "Who are you?" Naruto demanded. "I am a seeker of power," the figure replied. And the memory tree holds the key to ultimate knowledge. Without warning, the figure unleashed a wave of dark energy toward the tree. Reacting instinctively, Naruto and Sasuke combined their strengths to shield it, while Aiko focused her chakra to stabilize the surrounding area. The battle was intense, but their unity and determination proved stronger. Together, they managed to repel the intruder, who vanished into the shadows, vowing to return. Strengthening bonds. In the aftermath, the trio sat beneath the memory tree, catching their breath. "That was close," Naruto said, wiping sweat from his brow. "But we protected the tree," Aiko added, smiling. Sasuke looked at his companions, a rare smile gracing his features. "We make a good team." Their shared experience deepened their bond, reinforcing the importance of trust and cooperation. Embracing the future. As days turned into weeks, the trio continued their training, often returning to the memory tree for guidance. Its visions became clearer, offering insights into their strengths and areas for growth. One day, Aiko approached Naruto privately. "I've been thinking," she began, "about the future the tree showed us." Naruto looked at her, curiosity in his eyes. "I believe in that future," she continued. "And I want to be part of it, with you." Naruto's eyes widened, a mix of surprise and joy washing over him. "I feel the same," he replied, his voice filled with emotion. Their hands met, sealing their mutual feelings. A new beginning. Sasuke, observing from a distance, felt a pang of emotion but also a sense of acceptance. He approached them, offering his support. "I'm happy for you both," he said sincerely. "Our paths may differ, but our bond remains." The trio stood together beneath the memory tree, united by their experiences and the choices they made. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the village, they looked toward the horizon, ready to embrace whatever the future held. The following weeks brought an odd silence to the village. Not the kind that settled with peace, but the stillness before a storm. Even the birds near the memory tree had grown quieter, as if the forest itself held its breath. Though they returned to daily missions and training, Naruto, Sasuke, and Aiko remained unsettled. Their encounter with the dark figure had left more than just battle wounds. It had disturbed something deep within the memory tree, a subtle crack in the harmony they once felt. Whispers from the tree. Late one evening, Aiko stood alone near the tree. The others had gone home, but something called her back. When she placed her hand on the trunk again, the usual warmth did not greet her. Instead, a chill ran up her spine, and a strange hum vibrated through her fingertips. A vision formed, but it was different this time, fractured, almost chaotic. Aiko saw herself weeping beside a broken branch, Naruto distant and wounded, Sasuke walking away without looking back. The image flickered and twisted into something else, the dark figure kneeling before the memory tree, feeding it strands of red energy, emotions not his own. The vision vanished, leaving Aiko breathless. She turned to leave but found herself face to face with a pair of violet eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. "You saw it, didn't you?" the figure asked, voice like leaves rustling in a dying wind. Aiko stepped back, hand instinctively reaching for her kunai. "I'm not here to fight," the figure said. "Not yet." "Who are you?" Aiko asked. He tilted his head. "I was once like you, drawn to the tree's promises. But it does not give freely. It absorbs." He vanished into the shadows before she could respond, leaving a warning hanging in the air: the tree remembers more than just your past. A fracture begins. The next morning, Aiko told Naruto and Sasuke everything. Naruto, predictably, was furious. "We should have finished that guy when we had the chance," he growled, fists clenched. Sasuke remained silent, brow furrowed in thought. What did he mean, the tree absorbs? "I don't know," Aiko admitted, "but the vision was wrong. I felt disconnected from myself." Sasuke nodded. "We need to understand what the memory tree really is. And why it's reacting to us." That day, they ventured deeper into the forest than ever before, following chakra trails only visible to the most focused senses. Aiko, with her gentle precision, led the way. What they found was a clearing littered with old scrolls and symbols carved into stone. One symbol caught Sasuke's eye, an ancient crest resembling a single eye with roots growing from its corners. Naruto approached it and felt his own chakra ripple. "This is the same energy I felt when we fought him." They uncovered a half-buried scroll near the base of another tree, sealed with a waxy substance. Breaking it open carefully, they found records of a group known as the Chroniclers, ancient shinobi who used trees like the memory tree to store chakra, knowledge, even personalities. But too many memories twisted the roots, and the trees began to hunger for more. That explains the visions, Sasuke muttered. It's not just showing us our thoughts. It's feeding on them. Aiko's hands trembled. Then we're fueling it, with our conflict, with our confusion. Test of hearts. That night, the memory tree summoned them without words. The wind carried their names, the leaves rustled like whispered invitations. Compelled by something deeper than choice, the three returned. As soon as they stepped into the clearing, the tree's bark opened like a doorway, revealing a chamber of shimmering light. They entered. Inside, the walls pulsed with living memories, pieces of their past, hopes, and fears. But something was wrong. The chamber split into 3 tunnels, each pulling one of them away. Naruto found himself standing in a world where no one acknowledged him, not even Aiko. He shouted her name, ran through endless streets, but she vanished each time he reached for her. Not again, he whispered. I won't be alone again. Sasuke stood in a mirror of his past, his brother, his parents, all watching him. Aiko's image stood with them, not smiling, but judging. You didn't become more, her voice echoed. You became less. Aiko, in her vision, faced both Naruto and Sasuke, but they were bitter, twisted by jealousy, their rivalry destroying the peace they had found. You chose, Naruto accused. And look what it cost. Sasuke's silence burned more than words. All three reached a breaking point, but something anchored them. Not just memory. Not fear. But choice. Naruto stopped running and stood still. I'm not afraid of being hurt, he said to the illusion. I'm afraid of hurting others. I'll fight that fear. Sasuke turned from the image of his clan. I choose who I become. Not what you expect. Aiko stepped forward. I care for you both. But love isn't war. It's what helps us grow, not break. The tunnels dissolved, and they found themselves back beneath the tree, unharmed, but changed. The tree's light faded to a soft glow. The awakening. They had passed the test. Not of strength. But of self. The memory tree, once a mystery, now rested. It had drawn from their hearts, fed on their uncertainty, but also recognized their growth. The next day, the dark figure returned, furious. You didn't reject it, he hissed. You let it change you. Sasuke stepped forward, Sharingan spinning. We didn't change for the tree. We changed because we chose to. Naruto added, you used your pain to tear others down. We used ours to build something stronger. Aiko's voice cut through. The tree gave you a choice. You turned it into a weapon. In a final clash, the three fought not just for their own fates, but for the memory tree's future. Together, their unity overwhelmed the figure, whose own memories consumed him. As he disappeared into the tree's roots, the forest fell still. A future of their own. The memory tree no longer glowed with unstable visions. Instead, it hummed peacefully, pulsing in rhythm with the village beyond. Naruto and Aiko walked side by side, no longer afraid of the feelings between them. Sasuke followed, not as a rival, but as a brother who had found his own strength in choosing to protect instead of compare. And from then on, the tree remembered not just what was, or what might be, but what they had made real. After the final confrontation at the memory tree, life returned to the Hidden Leaf village with a quiet sense of renewal. The trio's shared experience had woven their destinies tighter, but it also stirred feelings neither Naruto nor Sasuke could ignore. Naruto found himself watching Aiko more often, the way her eyes sparkled when she laughed, the thoughtful pauses in her words, the gentle courage she showed when things got tough. He admired her patience, the kindness that seemed to bloom effortlessly even in moments of chaos. Sitting beside her after training, he would steal glances and feel his heart race with a new warmth. Aiko, in turn, noticed the small changes in Naruto. His usual boisterous energy softened around her, revealing a quiet strength and tenderness she hadn't seen before. He listened to her stories, asked about her dreams, and shared his own hopes with a vulnerability that made her smile. One afternoon, as they practiced together near the training grounds, Naruto's usual clumsy enthusiasm gave way to something more sincere. Aiko, he began, voice slightly trembling, I want you to know. You're the reason I keep pushing forward. Not just to be Hokage, but to be someone worthy of you. Aiko's cheeks flushed as she looked down, then met his gaze. Naruto, I believe in you, in all the good you carry inside. And I'm glad you're here with me. Their hands brushed lightly, a simple touch that spoke volumes. Meanwhile, Sasuke wrestled with his own feelings, emotions that defied his stoic nature. He had admired Aiko's honesty and spirit from the start, but seeing her and Naruto together sparked a storm inside. It wasn't jealousy as he'd imagined, but a quiet ache, a longing to be more than just a friend or rival. Late at night, Sasuke found himself standing beneath the memory tree once again, seeking answers not from visions, but from his own heart. The tree seemed to whisper, reminding him that love was not a battlefield to conquer, but a path to walk with respect and courage. He decided to speak with Aiko openly, setting aside pride. "I know you care for Naruto," Sasuke said quietly one evening as they trained side by side, "and I respect that. I want you to be happy, even if it's not with me." Aiko's eyes softened. "Sasuke, your friendship means everything to me. You've taught me about strength and loyalty. I hope we can always be close, no matter what happens." Their words built a bridge, turning potential rivalry into deeper understanding. From then on, the three shared moments that were tender and honest, laughter around campfires, quiet conversations under starlit skies, and the simple joy of being together. Naruto and Aiko's bond blossomed gently, rooted in respect and shared dreams. Sasuke found peace in supporting them, learning that love could take many forms, and sometimes, the strongest hearts were those that let go. Under the watchful branches of the memory tree, their story continued, not as a tale of competition, but as one of friendship, growth, and the beautiful complexity of young love. The Hidden Leaf village bustled with excitement as preparations for the annual Moonlight Festival reached a fever pitch. Lanterns hung from every rooftop, casting a soft golden glow over the streets. The aroma of sweet dango and roasted chestnuts filled the air, mingling with the laughter of children chasing each other beneath fluttering banners. Naruto couldn't keep the grin off his face as he waited outside the festival gates, nervously adjusting the simple but carefully chosen scarf he'd picked for Aiko. She was late, unusual for someone so punctual, and every second stretched like an eternity. Finally, she appeared, stepping into the lantern light with a shy smile. Her kimono was a soft shade of lavender, embroidered with delicate cherry blossoms. Naruto's heart leapt. "You look amazing," he said, his voice softer than usual. Aiko blushed but met his gaze steadily. "Thank you, Naruto. You look nice too." Hand in hand, they wandered into the festival, the world around them alive with colors and sounds. They tried their luck at the ring toss, laughed over spilled water from a prize game, and shared sticky sweet treats from a food stall. At one point, Naruto dragged Aiko toward the swings near the village square, where children played under strings of glowing fireflies trapped in tiny jars. "Come on. Let's see who can swing higher," Naruto challenged, eyes sparkling. Aiko giggled and accepted. They pushed off the ground, soaring higher and higher until the village lights twinkled like stars beneath them. For a moment, the worries of the memory tree, the rivalry, and the world beyond melted away. Afterward, they sat quietly on a bench, shoulders touching. Naruto swallowed hard. "Aiko, I've wanted to tell you something for a while." She turned to him, curious. "I don't just want to be your friend or teammate. I want to be someone you can count on, always." Her hand found his. "I felt the same." Before Naruto could say more, a shadow approached. Sasuke stepped into the lantern light, his expression unreadable but calm. "Sorry to interrupt," he said quietly. "I needed to speak with you both." Naruto and Aiko exchanged glances, then nodded. Sasuke took a breath, then looked directly at Aiko. "I won't hide how I feel," he said, voice steady but vulnerable. "I care about you deeply. It's been difficult watching from the sidelines, but I respect your choice and your happiness." He then looked at Naruto. "And you, Naruto, I respect you too, not just as a rival but as someone who truly matters to her. I hope we can all move forward, honestly and without regret." The night air held a fragile peace as the three shared a rare moment of understanding beneath the glow of countless lanterns. Aiko smiled softly. "Thank you, Sasuke. That means a lot." Naruto clapped Sasuke on the shoulder. "You're a good friend. We'll face whatever comes together." The festival continued around them, lights, laughter, and the promise of new beginnings. A stroll beneath the stars. The Moonlight Festival had left an indelible mark on Naruto and Aiko. Their shared moments lingered in their minds, prompting a desire to spend more time together. One evening, Naruto invited Aiko for a walk through the village outskirts, where the hustle faded into serene silence. As they meandered along a path lined with cherry blossoms, petals danced in the gentle breeze, creating a pink-hued snowfall. The moon cast a silvery glow, illuminating their path and highlighting the subtle blush on Aiko's cheeks. Naruto glanced at her, his usual exuberance tempered by a newfound tenderness. "It's beautiful tonight," he remarked, his voice soft. Aiko nodded, her gaze fixed on the moonlit path. It is peaceful. They walked in comfortable silence, the only sounds being the rustling leaves and their synchronized footsteps. Naruto's hand brushed against Aiko's, sending a jolt through both of them. Neither pulled away. Shared dreams and vulnerabilities. Finding a secluded bench beneath a blooming sakura tree, they sat, the petals forming a delicate canopy above. Naruto turned to Aiko, his expression earnest. Aiko, I've been thinking about us, he began, searching her eyes for understanding. She met his gaze, her eyes reflecting the starlight. Me too. I want to know more about you, your dreams, fears, everything, he confessed. Aiko smiled, touched by his sincerity. I dream of becoming a healer, helping those in need. But sometimes, I fear not being strong enough. Naruto reached out, gently taking her hand. You're stronger than you know. Your kindness is your strength. Aiko squeezed his hand, gratitude shining in her eyes. And you, Naruto? What do you fear? He hesitated before admitting, being alone. Not being acknowledged. Aiko leaned in, resting her head on his shoulder. You're not alone. Not anymore. A dance of emotions. Days turned into weeks, and their bond deepened. They trained together, shared meals, and found solace in each other's presence. One afternoon, after a rigorous training session, they sat by a tranquil lake, the water reflecting the golden hues of the setting sun. Aiko playfully splashed water at Naruto, laughing as he retaliated. Their laughter echoed across the lake, a symphony of joy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow, Naruto turned to Aiko, his expression serious.
Aiko, I think I'm falling for you, he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper.
Aiko's heart raced, her cheeks flushing. Naruto, I feel the same. They leaned in, their foreheads touching, eyes closed, savoring the moment. The world around them faded, leaving only the rhythm of their hearts. A promise beneath the memory tree. One evening, they returned to the memory tree, the place where their journey began. The tree stood tall, its leaves shimmering with ethereal light. Naruto took Aiko's hand, leading her to the base of the tree. This place holds our memories, our beginnings. Aiko nodded, emotions welling up. And our future. They stood in silence, the tree's energy enveloping them. Naruto turned to Aiko, determination in his eyes. No matter what challenges come our way, I promise to stand by you, he vowed. Aiko smiled, tears glistening. And I promise to support you, always. They embraced, the memory tree bearing witness to their pledge. Whispers of change. Weeks passed. Naruto and Aiko's bond had become unmistakable, even to those who once viewed Naruto only as the loud, impulsive boy from the village. They were often seen walking side by side after missions, talking quietly over ramen bowls, or simply enjoying each other's company by the old riverbank where they once trained. Yet, with every deepening connection, the world around them whispered change. It wasn't jealousy that stirred Sasuke anymore, it was something quieter. A gentle ache, a recognition that his path diverged in ways he hadn't fully grasped. The connection he once hoped for with Aiko had transformed into something else, a protective loyalty, a desire to see her happy even if it wasn't with him. Still, one night, beneath the cloudless sky, Sasuke sat alone near the remains of an old training post, Aiko's words echoing in his mind. You taught me about strength and loyalty. He closed his eyes. Maybe that was what he needed to become now, not the rival, not the romantic shadow, but the loyal protector from afar. Cracks in the calm. Despite their affection, Naruto and Aiko's relationship wasn't without its struggles. On a mission outside the village, a relatively simple reconnaissance trip, they faced an unexpected skirmish. In the heat of battle, Naruto made a split-second decision to protect Aiko, putting himself at risk. The result, a minor wound to his arm, and an argument once the danger passed. You can't keep doing that, Aiko said, voice trembling. Throwing yourself in harm's way like that, it's reckless. I couldn't let anything happen to you, Naruto replied, jaw tight. I'm a shinobi too, Naruto. I train to protect myself. You don't have to carry everything alone. Silence fell between them. It wasn't anger, it was fear, and love tangled together. Later that night, as they made camp, Naruto found her staring into the fire. He sat beside her quietly, pulling his jacket tighter against the night air. I know you're strong, he said finally. I'm still learning how to share the fight. Aiko looked at him, her expression softening. Then we'll learn together. She rested her head against his shoulder, and in that quiet, their connection grew stronger, not perfect, but real. Moments that matter. One sunny afternoon, after completing a village patrol, Naruto surprised Aiko with something unexpected, a handmade bracelet woven from red thread and tiny carved wooden beads. "I know it's not much," he said, holding it out shyly, "but I made it myself. Thought maybe it could remind you of me." Aiko took it delicately, running her fingers over the beads. "It's perfect." She tied it around her wrist with care, then reached up, pulling something from her pouch, a small, hand-drawn sketch. It was of the three of them, Naruto, Aiko, and Sasuke, standing beneath the memory tree. "I drew this after that night," she explained. "I didn't want to forget." Naruto took it, gazing at the details. "You captured it perfectly." Then, with a sudden boldness, he leaned forward and kissed her, not rushed or fiery, but gentle, thoughtful. It wasn't their first, but it was the first that felt like a promise. Sasuke's letter. One day, a scroll arrived at Naruto's home, sealed with Sasuke's unique emblem. It was short, but every word heavy with meaning. "I'm leaving for a time. There are things I need to understand, about the world, and about myself. I trust you both. Take care of each other. Sasuke." Naruto held the letter for a long time. When he told Aiko, she nodded in understanding. "He's finding his own path," she said. "It's what he needs." They watched the sun set from the Hokage monument, the wind tugging at Aiko's hair. Naruto reached for her hand. "I don't know what's coming next," he said. Aiko leaned into him. "Then we'll face it together." Rain and reunion. Months later, the skies opened in a downpour. Naruto and Aiko were caught in it after visiting an outpost near the border. Rather than rushing for shelter, they stood in the rain, laughing, soaked but unbothered. "This reminds me of training days," Aiko said, wiping water from her eyes. Naruto grinned. "Yeah, except I wasn't nearly as good at dodging then." She stepped closer. "You've grown a lot." He looked at her, raindrops sliding down his cheeks. "Because of you." They kissed again, rain blurring the world around them, grounding them in the moment. Later, as they dried off by a fire in a small rest house, Naruto turned serious. "I want to be someone who's there for every version of you. The strong one, the tired one, the happy one, even the scared one." Aiko touched his face. "And I want to walk beside the boy who became a man without letting go of his heart." The memory tree's gift. On the anniversary of their first journey to the memory tree, Naruto and Aiko returned to it alone. The tree had changed, grown even larger, its leaves shimmering more softly. As they stood in silence, the tree glowed faintly and released a single petal, which floated between them before dissolving into light. A vision unfolded, not of a possible future, but of now. The two of them, standing beneath the very same tree, hands intertwined, watched over by a memory that wasn't burdened by the past or weighed by what-ifs. It was a blessing. Or perhaps, just an acknowledgement. They didn't speak as they left, but their hearts were full. A new season. Time passed gently, like the rustle of wind through the changing leaves of the hidden leaf. Summer softened into fall, and with it came a quieter rhythm for Naruto and Aiko. They weren't just a pair of shinobi anymore, they had become something steadier. A routine had bloomed between them. Shared breakfasts, evening walks, handwritten notes left on doorsteps when missions took one away. Naruto, once all impulse and fire, had grown into something more grounded. He still trained hard and dreamed big, but his thoughts lingered more often on coming home to her smile than just becoming Hokage. One peaceful morning, Aiko found him in the garden outside his modest home, fussing over a set of potted herbs. He wore a confused scowl as he examined a wilted sprig of basil. "You're overwatering it," she said, arms crossed playfully. Naruto looked up and grinned. "I just wanted it to grow faster. I was thinking about adding fresh herbs to the ramen tonight." She shook her head, crouching beside him. "Some things take time. You can't rush growth." He glanced at her, and for a moment, his expression shifted. Serious. Soft. "Yeah," he murmured. "But when it grows right, it's worth the wait." The letter from Sasuke. One afternoon, a hawk arrived with a scroll sealed in jet black wax, Sasuke's signature. Aiko found it resting on the windowsill and called for Naruto. He unrolled it and read in silence, his eyes scanning each word carefully. "He's safe," Naruto said at last. "He's still wandering, but he's found clarity. Says he's learning more from the world than he ever did with a sword." Aiko rested her hand on Naruto's shoulder. He'll come home when it's time. Naruto nodded. He's part of this too. Part of our story. Small things that mattered. Over the months, Aiko started a healing clinic just outside the village center. Children with bruised knees, elderly villagers with aching joints, even jonin with stubborn injuries, they came to her not just for the healing but for the peace she brought. Naruto would visit in the evenings, bringing her favorite snacks, listening to her stories from the day. He loved watching her work, the way she moved, how her hands glowed with chakra, how she greeted everyone by name. She, in turn, would sneak into the stands whenever Naruto helped lead village patrols or sparred with the academy students. She cheered quietly, but always waited at the gate to walk home with him. The proposal. It wasn't grand, but it was unforgettable. One winter night, the memory tree shimmered under a blanket of snow. Naruto had asked Aiko to meet him there after her clinic closed. She arrived bundled in a thick scarf, the one he'd given her 2 winters ago. Kind of cold for nostalgia, don't you think? She teased. Naruto stood beside the tree, a small lantern glowing at his feet. He smiled, nervous but full of something he could no longer keep inside. I've been thinking about this for a long time, he began. About all the moments that brought us here. Every quiet dinner, every mission, every walk through this village. I used to think I wanted to be Hokage more than anything. But that dream changed. He took a small box from his pouch and knelt in the snow. You're my dream now. The one I want to wake up to every day. Aiko. Will you marry me? Aiko didn't speak right away. Her hands trembled slightly, but her eyes never left his. You don't even have to ask, she whispered. Of course I will. Naruto laughed, more relief than anything, and stood to wrap his arms around her. The memory tree shimmered again, not from chakra or magic, but from the joy carried in the air like light. Building a home. The next few seasons were filled with laughter, planning, and more than a few misadventures, like Naruto accidentally booking 2 wedding venues on the same day or Aiko's grandmother insisting on a traditional tea ceremony. Even though she forgot all the steps. They built their home near the edge of the village, close enough to hear the festival drums, far enough for quiet. The porch overlooked the same riverbank where they used to train as kids. One morning, Aiko found Naruto napping on that porch, a blueprint for a baby's room tucked under his arm. She smiled, brushing his unruly hair from his eyes. Do you always dream with your eyes open? He stirred, blinking. Only when I'm dreaming about you. Full circle. Years later, the memory tree remained, tall, ancient, silent. Beneath its branches, a child ran laughing through the leaves. A boy with his mother's calm eyes and his father's untamed spirit. Naruto and Aiko watched from a short distance, seated on the same bench where they once made their first promise. Do you think he'll want to be a shinobi? Naruto asked, arm around her shoulders. Maybe, Aiko replied. Or maybe he'll be a gardener like his dad. Naruto laughed. Hey, I've improved. She leaned into him. You've grown. We both have. They sat quietly, watching their son chase the wind. The tree whispered softly, not with visions of what could be, but with the memory of everything that had come to pass. Theirs was never just a story of battles or power. It was about healing, quiet love, and a future crafted from patience, not fire. And under the memory tree, the beginning of all things, they found not an ending, but a life. Hokage mornings. Naruto woke before dawn now. Gone were the lazy mornings of his youth. His days began with reports, diplomatic meetings, and the steady stream of requests from villagers, shinobi squads, and foreign envoys. Being Hokage wasn't a title, it was a fire that never went out, one that needed constant tending. But before the first knock on his office door, before Konohamaru brought in tea or scrolls, Naruto took a few moments for himself. Aiko always rose with him, even if she stayed wrapped in the covers, watching from the bed as he slipped into the Hokage cloak. I don't know how you do it every day, she teased one morning. He grinned while adjusting his sash. Easy. I know what I'm coming home to. That was true, but balance wasn't. Their son, Haruki, now 7, was showing early signs of chakra sensitivity. He asked endless questions. About jutsu. About his parents' missions. About the memory tree. Naruto saw himself in Haruki's boundless energy and restless spirit. But he also saw Aiko's clarity in their son's gaze, a grounding force. Still, the weight of leadership pulled Naruto away more than he liked. Late nights. Cancelled dinners. Missed birthdays. One evening, After returning late from a treaty discussion with the Sand Village, Naruto entered the house to find Haruki asleep on the floor beside the window, a half-finished drawing of a fox in one hand. Aiko stood nearby, arms crossed, calm but serious. "He waited up again," she said. "He misses you." Naruto knelt by his son, gently lifting him and carrying him to bed. Afterward, he returned to the kitchen where Aiko sat quietly with tea. "I'm trying," he said. "I know," she replied. "Just don't let your dream make you forget the ones you've already caught." The hawk returns. The message arrived without fanfare. A simple scroll attached to the leg of a dark feathered hawk. Naruto recognized the seal before he touched it. He unrolled the parchment. "I'm coming home. I've seen enough." It was signed with a single symbol, Uchiha. The village buzzed with rumors the next morning. Even the elders whispered, unsure whether Sasuke's return meant diplomacy or reckoning. But Naruto felt only one thing, a quiet, long-awaited peace. The reunion. Sasuke entered the village at dusk. Cloaked in black, hair slightly longer, sword strapped across his back. He walked to the Hokage's tower, not as a stranger, but as someone returning to unfinished truths. Naruto was already waiting on the balcony. They stared at each other for a long moment, no words spoken. Then, Naruto stepped forward, and they embraced, brief, but honest. "You look older," Sasuke said finally. "You look worse," Naruto smirked. Sasuke chuckled, the rare sound like a stone skipping across a still lake. They spent the evening in the Hokage's quarters, Naruto, Aiko, and Sasuke, sharing food, tea, and quiet conversation. Haruki peeked in shyly at one point. Sasuke crouched down, meeting the boy's gaze. "You're the one I've heard stories about," Sasuke said. "I've heard about you too," Haruki replied. "You're the cool, mysterious one, right?" Sasuke raised an eyebrow. "That's what they're saying?" Aiko laughed from across the room. "That's what Naruto tells him." Sasuke gave a sideways glare to his old friend. "I see the propaganda machine is alive and well. Old roads, new paths." In the following weeks, Sasuke lingered in the village, not just passing through, but settling into a quieter role. He didn't seek the limelight. Instead, he began teaching advanced tactics to upper-class academy students, sharing insights from his travels, and helping with intelligence operations in the shadows. He visited the memory tree once, alone. When Naruto joined him, neither spoke at first. "She chose well," Sasuke said after a long pause. Naruto looked up at the tree. "So did I." Sasuke nodded. "You ever wonder what it would have been like if things were different?" "Yeah," Naruto said. "But only for a moment." They stood in silence. Old rivals, older friends, now simply men who had grown beyond their wounds. Balancing light and shadow. Naruto's schedule didn't ease, but his priorities sharpened. He began assigning more responsibilities to capable younger shinobi, including Konohamaru and Shikamaru, trusting them to carry the flame so he could be present more at home. He picked Haruki up from school at least twice a week. Made time to walk with Aiko at sunset. Started bringing a small lunch from home instead of eating alone at his desk. And every year, on the anniversary of their first promise, Naruto and Aiko returned to the memory tree, now with Haruki in tow. They etched new symbols into the tree's roots, not markings of jutsu, but initials, dates, and 1 year, a drawing of a small fox chasing a bird. The tree, now ancient and wise, shimmered gently, not from magic, but from the quiet, remembered joy of a life built carefully, honestly, with love. A place for every leaf. The hidden leaf never stood still. Time, like chakra, flowed endlessly through its streets, its forests, its people. Buildings changed. Trees grew taller. Children grew into heroes. And yet, some things, the quiet, important things, remained. One late summer evening, golden with the kind of sunset that made every rooftop glow, Naruto walked hand in hand with Aiko through the village gardens. Their pace was slow, unhurried. They didn't need words. Haruki, now nearly grown, had been accepted into the Anbu Shadow Corps. His promotion ceremony had just ended, full of respectful bows, modest celebration, and a tight-lipped smile from Sasuke, who had helped train the boy in secret. "You see the way he walked up there?" Naruto said, smiling. "Like he wasn't scared of anything." Aiko squeezed his hand. "He had your heart. And Sasuke's calm. And maybe a little of my stubbornness." They sat on a bench overlooking the koi pond, the same spot where Naruto had once declared he'd be Hokage one day, years ago, when he was nothing but a loud, lonely boy with a dream too big for his own hands. "I've been thinking," Naruto said, "about what comes next." Aiko raised an eyebrow. "You mean retirement?" "Not yet," he chuckled. "But soon. I want to step down while I can still enjoy what we've built." Aiko leaned against him. "You'll always be Hokage. But maybe now. It's time to be more than that." He looked down at her hand, the same one that had thrown kunai beside him in missions, held their son's tiny fingers, soothed his wounds, wiped away tears, reached across years of worry and hope. "I want to travel with you," he said. "Just the two of us. No war, no missions. I want to see the land of whirlpools. I want to walk the rice fields in the mist village. I want to lie on the beach until our hair turns silver." Aiko smiled. "And what if I say I want a garden?" "I'll grow a whole forest," he replied. That night, back at their home, they hosted a quiet dinner, just the three of them. Sasuke arrived late, as always, but brought something unexpected, a small hand-carved figure of the memory tree, its branches curved to form a circle. "For your table," he said simply, placing it at the center. Naruto held it for a long time, feeling the grooves in the wood. "Thanks, old friend." "You earned it," Sasuke said. "All of it." Later, when the dishes were done and the fireflies blinked in the windows, Naruto and Aiko stood outside watching the stars. "There was a time I thought I'd never have this," Naruto said. "There was a time I wasn't sure what I wanted," Aiko admitted. "But you chose me," he said quietly. "Even when you didn't have to." Aiko turned to him, touching the side of his face. "I didn't choose the strongest. I didn't choose the quietest. I chose the one who made me believe in tomorrow." Naruto kissed her, softly, like a boy still grateful for a chance he never thought he'd deserve. And beneath the same stars, somewhere far off, the memory tree stood tall, its roots deep in memory, its branches open to the wind. Not all love stories are loud. Some unfold quietly, slowly, and last forever. This one did. Dear viewers, that's all for now, but the journey doesn't end here. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with the latest from 6th Weeb. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one. Regards. 6th Weeb.